Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something literally unprecedented, a freshly published research agenda from the newly formed Anthropic Institute. What makes this so absolutely fascinating is our vantage point. We aren't just guessing about the future of artificial intelligence from the outside looking in, we're looking at it from inside a frontier AI lab. They have a front row seat to the AI future, and they're openly sharing exactly what they see.
To actually wrap our heads around the massive impacts AI is going to have on our global security, our economy, and our society, we can't just guess from the sidelines. We have to look right through the window of the labs actually building these systems. Because the Institute hit the nail on the head when they said, doing effective safety research requires close contact with frontier AI systems. You simply can't study this effectively in the abstract, right? You need to see the gears turning in real time.
Okay, so let's dive right in. The Institute breaks their sweeping research agenda down into 4 specific pillars that we'll be exploring today: economic diffusion, threats and resilience, AI systems in the wild, and finally, AI-driven R&D.
Let's start with window 1, economic diffusion.
Now, Anthropic isn't sitting around waiting for some delayed macroeconomic report to tell them what's up. From their internal vantage point, they're already seeing radical shifts in fields like software engineering. To track this, they're rolling out the Anthropic Economic Index. Think of it as an early warning radar for major labor disruptions. And the scale here? It's staggering. Picture a tiny 3-person team armed with advanced AI pulling off the exact same work that historically required a massive 300-person traditional workforce. Just think about that for a second. What does that do to the whole industrial organization of a company? If firms can centralize knowledge that efficiently at scale, how does the share of labor shift? Does it suddenly incentivize, say, deeper worker surveillance? These are the exact structural questions they're rushing to answer.
Which brings us to this super fascinating economic concept. Can AI diffusion actually be modulated? We all know central banks use interest rates as these giant dials to cool down an overheating economy, right? Well, the question is, could AI companies, maybe partnering directly with governments, use similar dials to control the deployment rate of AI on a sector-by-sector basis? Like if a specific industry is facing a catastrophic, overnight disruption, could we literally just turn the dial down to manage the shock?
Moving on to window 2, threats and resilience.
Here, we're shifting gears to security and looking at how society actually builds resilience. Why? Because powerful AI is inherently a dual-use technology. The absolute trickiest part about these AI systems is that they level up a bunch of different capabilities all at once. An AI model that gets exceptionally good at writing helpful code for software, well, it inherently becomes exceptionally good at hacking. A model that accelerates biology to cure diseases, it can also accelerate biology to build weapons. The progress is completely coupled.
And that brings up a really crucial point about needing totally new infrastructure to handle these dual-use risks. Think back to the Cold War, where the American president had that direct hotline to the Kremlin to manage sudden high-stakes nuclear crises. What's the equivalent geopolitical infrastructure for a rapid AI crisis? AI capabilities can advance in mere months, while traditional regulation takes, years? The researchers are seriously asking if we need immediate company-to-state or even company-to-company hotlines just to match the tempo of an AI-enabled threat.
Okay, window 3, AI systems in the wild.
This pillar is all about what happens when AI leaves the pristine lab environment and actually enters our messy daily lives, fundamentally altering our institutions and our behavior. Anthropic is looking into a really profound concept here called group epistemology. Basically, that's the collective framework of how we as a society actually form our knowledge and beliefs. I mean, think about the gravity of this. What happens to our collective truth, our personal writing styles, and our diverse ways of solving problems when a massive chunk of humanity starts consulting the exact same few AI models for answers every single day?
And that sparks a whole rapid-fire sequence of questions for all of us. As these systems get more capable and we naturally start trusting them more, how do we even detect, let alone avoid, the degradation of our own human critical thinking skills? How do we keep our judgment and our intellectual independence when we're constantly handing off the heavy lifting to highly capable AI?
Well, a lot of it comes down to design. What kind of interfaces cause AI systems to actually promote human agency instead of turning us totally passive? Look at history. Televisions kind of turned us into passive viewers, but personal computers turned us into active creators. The user interface of AI is literally going to determine our societal agency. Are we building systems that just think for us, or systems that amplify our ability to think for ourselves?
And this brilliantly illustrates a massive legal headache for governing these systems in the wild. When we deploy autonomous AI agents that operate without a human in the loop, who takes the fall when things go wrong? The researchers suggest something wild.
looking at ancient accountability mechanisms. For example, the way naval law handles abandoned or autonomous ships out on the open ocean. That might actually be a highly relevant legal blueprint for how we treat autonomous AI agents navigating the digital world.
All right, last pillar, window 4, AI-driven R&D.
This is easily our most sci-fi window. It explores how AI is drastically turbocharging scientific research across the board, and crucially, how it's speeding up the research and development of AI itself. The Institute calls this AI-driven AI R&D. This is when increasingly powerful AI systems are used to help develop the next, even more powerful versions of themselves, often with way less active human oversight. They describe this as a natural dividend of making smarter systems. If an AI gets really good at complex technical work, it's naturally going to get good at programming better AI. It's an area with mind-blowing potential, but for sure, some pretty unprecedented danger.
Let's walk through how this theoretical tech tree actually plays out. Step 1. AI automates complex technical work. Step 2. That AI develops its own successor models. Step 3. We see compounding returns, sparking a literal intelligence explosion. Because this loop accelerates so wildly fast, Anthropic highlights an absolute urgent need for telemetry. We need rigorous tools to measure the aggregate speed of AI research, acting as a vital early warning signal that recursive self-improvement is officially kicked off.
So, if that early warning alarm rings today, are we ready? How do we run a fire drill for an intelligence explosion? This isn't theoretical. This is a critical, literal question the source material is asking. What does a tabletop exercise actually look like for lab leadership, corporate boards, and global governments when they're suddenly staring down an AI system that is recursively improving its own intelligence?
Which brings us to the living agenda.
Look, these are massive, incredibly thorny challenges, but they aren't just sitting around engaging in academic pondering here. This agenda is actively shaping the company's real-world decisions. They're publicly releasing their economic index data to warn us about labor shifts. Their internal cyber threat analyses are literally changing how and when they release new tech. And maybe most importantly, all of this serves as direct input for Anthropic's Long-Term Benefit Trust, or LTBT, which ensures the company is constantly optimizing its actions for the long-term benefit of humanity.
And here's where it gets super exciting for you. Anthropic actually wants help answering these exact questions, and they've opened the doors to the public. They've launched the Anthropic Fellowship. We're talking a 4-month, fully funded opportunity where you get to tackle these research pillars with direct mentorship from the Institute's team members. If you've been watching this explainer and your brain is just buzzing with ideas, this is your shot to actively step into the narrative and apply.
But let's end on this final, incredibly provocative thought directly from the source material. If an intelligence explosion was upon us right now, today, which entities should actually wield the capacity to intervene? If someone needs to pull the emergency brake on our future, who gets to hold that power? Should it be governments, the tech companies themselves, some independent global body? It's a massive question we all need to think about, and soon. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.